And we're live here on the Lone Trail. Let's see. So yeah, I'm doing a live stream. No one's here already, I think. Let's wait and see if anyone comes through. I don't have that many subscribers here on the Lone Trail yet, so I'm not expecting a huge amount of people to show up. But I thought we would do a little bit of a Q&A, if anyone shows up, that is, to ask me some questions about running. Let's see if I can have a chat here. Just looking through the chat. Yeah, I don't know if how the chat is gonna work, so I'll just talk about some random stuff while we wait for some people to show up. So yeah, it's summer here in Norway, but the last few days have been rainy. So I was actually planning on doing a bike ride today. I had a little bit of a workout, so to speak, an informal workout yesterday, and running. And I thought today I would just go for an easy bike ride, 2 hours. But yeah, I don't like riding my bike in the rain. It's just not that nice. So I'm taking a rest day instead, because usually I do rest days on Sundays, which is tomorrow. So I'm gonna do a rest day today. I just did some glute exercises with a band. I'll show you guys what I mean. I've bought some resistance bands. So I've bought these bands here that I've been playing around with. You know, you put them around your knees or whatever, and then you can press out while you're doing hip, like glute bridges, or even squats or clamshells and things like that, to work on your glute medius muscle. And so I've been doing those today, and I also have this other band, I think is called a TheraBand, where I'm doing like ankle inversion, eversion kind of exercises. So that's what I've been doing today, and then tomorrow I'm gonna do my bike ride tomorrow instead. So as I said, I was gonna do it today, but it's rainy, and tomorrow it looks like there's gonna be a little bit better weather, so I'll do the ride tomorrow. It looks like we have 4 people here now. If you guys want to say hello in the chat, that would be cool, so I can see how it works. I've never done a live stream on my phone before. I'm using my phone, and I'm not sure if I'm getting the chat. So if you guys can say something so I can see what happens. I hope it comes up on the screen. Yeah, training lately has been going okay. I had a training break over the winter when I was in La Palma. And there we have a question or a comment. Good. T-Man running. Oh, it's fading away. How do I don't want it to fade away. Sorry, technical things. Oh, there it is. New subscriber. Tiernan running. Do you use zero drop trainers much? I will be answering your question. Just going to finish what I was saying. I was saying that I had a training break over the winter, as most of you probably know, and then I started running again in March, and I've been building up volumes slowly, but I've been having some Achilles issues, so I've been doing more biking, and that's been good. I've been enjoying the bike a lot. So, question, do you always use zero drop shoes? There we go. I don't know why, but the question, the comments fade after a little while. Do you use zero drop trainers much? I used to run only in Ultra shoes, which is zero drop, all of them, right? And I did enjoy it. And actually what turned me away from Ultra was that although they do have a wide toe box, they're not actually that wide across the midfoot, which is where my foot is widest. So I tried a lot of different shoes in order to find shoes that were wide enough for my feet, and I ended up trying some Hoka shoes, and they were wide enough, especially when I bought the wide models. They have a special sort of wide alternative for each of the models. So I bought those, the Hoka Clifton and the Hoka Bondi, and they fit my feet really well. They're not zero drop though, they're more like 4 and 5 millimeters of drop, but it's still low, it's still low drop, so it's similar. I haven't run in high drop shoes like 8 to 10 millimeters ever, but I am looking to try it actually. I would like to try the Nike range. Obviously, there seem to be a lot of running records broken with the fast Nike shoes these days, and I would like to try some of those. So I'm going to experiment with higher drop shoes. What about you, Tiernan? Sorry, I forget the Tiernan running. What about you? Do you run in zero drop shoes? Let me know. The other thing that made me go away from zero drop shoes is that my ankle mobility is pretty poor. Okay, so it's not an ankle issue as an Achilles issue so much as it is in front of the ankle, causing me to not be able to get as much dorsiflexion in my feet, which is why I sort of tried experimenting with a little bit of higher drop to get my foot up a little bit and move my body a little forward, sort of cheating a little bit because of my poor ankle mobility. And I found that it feels better. When I go in the zero drop shoes, I feel like I'm butting against my limits when it comes to ankle mobility a little bit more. Mont Alban Jr. says, I went from Nike to Five Fingers to Bear. Bear? Is that a brand? I've never heard about it. To Luna sandals. Okay. Yeah, I would like to try Luna sandals. They seem pretty cool. But at the moment, I'm enjoying a little more drop. Tiernan also asks, was it awkward transitioning from Ultra to Hoka? I literally tried a few months ago, but my lower legs seem to fatigue faster for some reason. I didn't have a problem with the transition. It was pretty smooth. I was frustrated with the fact that most of the Ultra shoes were too narrow in the midfoot, so I got some pain actually from wearing them. Some of the models anyway, and I went through 3 or 4 models. I went to buy them, brought them home, ran twice in them, and had to sell them again. I did that 3 times just because they were too narrow. And when I finally put on the Hoka shoes, they were wide enough. And I was like, wow, this feels amazing. Finally a shoe that's actually wide where I need it to be wide across the midfoot. Let me show you here, so my dirty socks. So rather than like being, the Ultra shoes are wide in the toe box, which is nice, but my foot is really wide there, a little further back from the front. And so I needed shoes that were wider there. And actually, when I'm looking at the Nike Vaporfly, the new fast shoe from Nike, they actually look pretty wide there at that point. So I'm curious to give it a try. Let's see again. Mont Alban went from barefoot to Luna. Overall, it took a year to transition. Yeah, it does take time to transition, obviously, whether you're going from high drop to zero drop or lower drop, or if you're going the other way around too. Any changes in training, footwear, intensity, volume, any changes at all, you want to be careful to do it gradually. So yeah, seems reasonable to spend a year transitioning. Yeah, you say the Nikes are narrow, and I've never tried. I've tried one pair of Nikes. I did it recently. It was the Zoom Gravity, I think. And again, it was pretty wide there, just where I needed to be wide, and the rest of it was pretty narrow. But that's not that big a deal. I need them to be wide right there on the midfoot, and looking at the Vaporflies, they look pretty wide, but yeah, I gotta try it though. Tiernan, it will be fascinating to hear how it goes for you. Sorry, the comment fades immediately after it arrives, so I have to be really quick reading them. Fascinating to read how it goes for you. Lots of minimalist and zero drop runners will probably be interested in what it's like reverse transitioning. Yeah, I think so too. And you know, I like experimentation. I like to experiment. So I started out with Vibram 5 fingers. I remember I think it was back in 2012 when Mads and my brother, first went to Thailand. It's right back when we transitioned to a raw food diet. Before we started the Sweet Natural Living channel, we went to Thailand and we had our 5 finger shoes and we had our Born to Run book and we were reading it and we were like, oh, this is awesome. We were born to run. We're gonna run. And we ran around on one of the small islands, Koh Chang, in Thailand. And yeah, we ran in 5 fingers and it was awesome. And I feel like that taught me how to run properly. I always used to heel strike pretty bad. I remember getting a headache back in the day. I used to get a headache from running because I was pounding with my heel so much that I was basically shaking my brain. And after transitioning or just starting to use 5 fingers, I had to learn how to run properly, and that's one of the benefits of running with zero drop shoes or barefoot, 5 fingers, Luna sandals, whatever. You actually learn proper running form, natural running form, and then if you're able to maintain that while still using running shoes and experimenting with different levels of drop, etc., I think that can be a good thing to do. You don't necessarily have to lock yourself into one world of just like zero drop or just normal high drop shoes. So I want to try a little bit of all of them. I think I do probably need to incorporate more of the barefoot running again, just to strengthen the feet. It's really good for the feet to run barefoot. Maybe do some barefoot strides a couple of times a week, that sort of thing, to work on the feet strength and the balance and the proprioception in the feet, etc. That's probably a good idea. And by the way, of course, you can ask questions. Any of you guys have any running questions? Just shoot. Back when we were, here it is. I know it's been overdone, but how about a video of a full day of eating on a run day? Yeah, I think that's a great video idea. I will do that. I can't say when I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try and do it fairly soon, because you're asking about it. But the reason I don't do those that often is because I'm not really a big fan of vlogging. For me, it's just stressful to be like carrying around a camera all day and to film my meals and vlogging, being out and about doing things and filming myself while I'm doing it. It just stresses me out. I'm much more into just making videos like this where I sit down, I can make a video and I'm in a controlled setting and then I'm done. Then I can get on with the rest of my life. So that's the obstacle for me, but I will try to do it because it's cool. I know as a viewer, I enjoy watching people's videos like that. Yeah, it is stressful. I don't even understand sometimes how some people can vlog all day, every day. It seems like a very stressful lifestyle to always be filming everything. Because I'm always like, sometimes I'm out for a run, right? And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Look at the view and everything's so cool. I want to make an Instagram story, or I want to film this or make a video or something. But then I'm just like, oh, no, I don't want to spoil the moment, I don't want to pull up the camera and fiddle with the camera and film myself while I'm out running. I'd rather just be in the moment and actually enjoy it for myself. Maybe it's selfish. No, it's not selfish. It's just natural to feel like that. But the most awkward part for me is recording myself talking when people are passing by. I know, I'm not able to do that. Like, it's so difficult. I feel so stupid. when I'm carrying a camera around in public talking to it. And even when I see other people, and I'm a YouTuber, I've been doing this for years, so I should be okay with it. But when I look at other people doing it, I even think they look stupid. I see them filming themselves talking to the camera, and I'm just like, oh, what has happened to humanity? We're so weird. But then again, that's a good way to create content. I know, for example, some of the channels that I like to watch on YouTube, they do that all the time. They're out and they're running out in public talking to the camera, or they're walking, or they're out and about, and it's just something satisfying about seeing the world go by and seeing new surroundings, because I'm sure some of you guys are pretty bored maybe of just seeing this wall behind me all the time, or just always seeing me in the same place. So I want to take this YouTube channel to the next level, and I think maybe one of the things that I could do is to do more videos like that, where I'm out and about and filming myself talking in the world. Yeah, Ternan says, I think it's a necessary evil. Yeah, I think you're right. So I'll work on that, and I'll work on making some more what I eat in a day videos. One way of doing it is actually just filming the meals and filming like the food, and just doing it without talking and without actually making a video, and then I could do a voiceover later. That's another way to do it. I was saying earlier how back in the day in 2012, when Mads and I went to Thailand, we started running with the Vibram 5 fingers. It's not like that was running at the same level as I am now. Back then it was just like we were inspired, and for a few weeks we ran every other day or something. But then I had a problem. I didn't enjoy running on the pavement. I only wanted to run on trails. And it was difficult to avoid pavement, because it is difficult to avoid sometimes. And I wasn't consistent with my training. So even though I did start back then to train, I don't look at it as real training. I wasn't really training back then. It was just playing around with running and having fun with it, doing a few runs now and then, but it was pretty inconsistent in terms of training. So over the years, I guess it was back in 2015 or something like that, 16 maybe, when I got my first running watch, GPS watch, Garmin. And I was like, now I started getting really inspired about real training, and I said to myself, what if I actually give this a proper try? And since then I've had a lot of setbacks, some injuries. I got really sick after a vaccine back in 2016. Now, over the last 6 months, I've had issues with dizziness, and that's been hindering my training as well. So I've certainly had my share of obstacles. So I wouldn't say I've been able to train super consistently over the last few years, but yeah, I've gotten somewhere. I'm moving forward, slowly building it, and let's see where it goes. Let me know, guys, if you have any questions, and I will answer them for you. It's just any questions running wise, just post them. Mont Alban says, I don't mean to advertise other running channels, but I think you would really enjoy Boundless Runner. Okay, thanks for the tip. I haven't heard about that channel. I'm going to check it out later. Boundless Runner. I like VO2 Max Productions a lot. Sage Canada, he is one of my favorite running channels. Ben Parks, he's pretty good. Good running channel for him. What else? Total Running Productions. That's a really, really good channel. Very inspirational. But I like the Sage Canada style a lot, vlogging and just talking. Again, he's out bringing his camera out on his run, which is what I think matters quite a lot. That you're actually out and about, filming yourself while you're out there in the world. I think that's a good way to just satisfy the viewers. I know from personal experience as a viewer that I much more prefer someone who is actually out and about than someone who's just sitting in a room talking about something. But then again, one of my strengths as a YouTuber, I guess, is to talk about a particular subject in depth and explain it. And that's why in those videos, I think it's best to be sitting in one place and just getting into the topic rather than being distracted by surroundings. But I should definitely up the ratio between out and about videos and in-house videos. So it looks like we're 5 people here now. Thank you. 6 people now. Thank you for being here, for joining me in my live stream. If you have any questions, post them. Actually, right now, just someone give me a question. I want a question right now. A running question, please. In the meantime, I can show you my background. That's the new Nike Alpha Fly. It looks like a spaceship that you put on your feet. Looks pretty fast though. It's Saturday here, which means I've had my guitar students. I have guitar students on Saturdays. And yeah, just 4 today though. If you could only pick one couch to base all your training on. Couch? Sorry, the comment fades away. I have to figure out how to avoid that. If you could only pick one couch to base all your training off, which one would you pick? What do you mean? Coach. Pick one coach. Good question. I mean, my favorite coach, of course, is myself. I am self-coached. I mean, I learn a lot from different coaches. I get your question though, and I'll get to it. But I have thought about it a lot. You know, what if I had an actual coach, right? Like, what if I actually had a coach making the program for me, telling me what to do? Would it be a benefit for me as an athlete, especially later, maybe when I get to a certain level, if I get to a certain high level of performance, if I'm ever able to actually perform at an elite level? I don't know. I dream about it, but whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. But if I do get there, maybe I should just give someone else the responsibility of being a coach so that I can focus on being an athlete, maybe. But my personality is such that I struggle with taking... I have my own opinions about what's correct and what's not correct. And so it's difficult for me to just have someone else tell me what to do. I don't know if that's a strength or a weakness. But of course, over here I have some of my books. So this is by Keith Livingstone. It's about it's about Arthur Lidger's training. And then there's, of course, these 2 books by Fitzinger and friends. So Fitzinger, that's an option there. This is Law of Running, Timothy Noakes. That's a big book. I guess he's a coach in some way. He's more of a scientist than a coach, maybe. And then, of course, there's Jack Daniels. This is one of his old books. And of course, he's most famous for his book, Daniels' Running Formula. I think I would have to go with Daniels. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jack Daniels. I am certified VDOT Jack Daniels coach. You can see here, this is my certification. It's just an online test, basically, where you prove that you know the principles from the book very well. So yeah, I think definitely I would go for Jack Daniels. I feel most confident with his approach. That's the approach that I use most in my training, but I do sometimes find that it has its shortcomings, right? There's some things about his philosophy where I'm like for example, he has his different training intensities, right? Easy, marathon pace, threshold pace, interval pace, and repetition pace. That's his different paces. And I like that simplicity, but I feel like there's room for slightly easier than marathon pace sometimes, you know, the high end of an easy pace. But then again, that goes into his easier range. But what about things like race pace training, right? Like if you're training for 10K, would you choose threshold pace, or would you choose interval pace, which is a VO2 max pace? Because 10K pace is somewhere in the middle there, around what's known as critical velocity. Which one would you, I mean, you would obviously train in many different pace realms, but I feel like sometimes there's a little missing piece there in his philosophy. Another question there from Mont Alban Jr. How important is speed training for the long distance runner? That's a great question. Classic question. Arthur Lydiard said, sometimes people accused him and his philosophy of high mileage of saying, they said high mileage makes you slow. And Lydiard would say, no, it's not the high mileage that makes you slow, it's the lack of speed training. So ideally you would have a high mileage program for a long distance athlete with some speed training to sort of top it off. There's several aspects to speed training, of course, and you got to look at your goals. I mean, if you're an 800-meter runner or a 1500-meter runner, you'll require a lot more speed training than if you're a marathon runner, right? Marathon is pure endurance almost, right? You might have some finishing kick where you require more speed, and there might be some pace changes in a competitive marathon. But the anaerobic capacity, so to speak, the ability to produce ATP anaerobically is not very important for long distance runners. But for 800, 1500, like those middle distances, what they called, for those distances, it is important to have some anaerobic power. And so for those people, they need to do more of that repetition type training, which is what Jack Daniels would call it. Fast, 800 to 1500 meter pace training to develop the anaerobic abilities. But there's another aspect, of course, here to speed training, and that is that it's not just about your metabolism, the anaerobic part of your metabolism, but it's also about your neuromuscular efficiency. And so when you're training, when you're doing speed training, you're actually working on your running economy. You're working on your economy of movement. And it's also a way of looking at it, is also looking at it like strength training. It's like strength training for runners. It's very running specific strength, right? So you can go in the gym and you can lift really heavy weights, and that will stiffen up your system. It will stiffen up your tendons and generally stiffen your system and make you stronger, of course, which then can translate to better running economy because you have less elasticity in your tendons. You can transfer your power more efficiently to the ground, and you can also push off with stronger force. But one way of making that strength training even more specific to running is to do speed training, okay? Even better, doing hill training. Because when you're really working fast, you're kicking off with a lot of power, you are not only training your strength, but you're also working on stiffening those tendons, and you're working on good running form, all of which will improve your running economy. So even for a marathon runner, it is essential to do speed training. And I would say at the very least, a couple of times a week, adding in 5 to 10 strides where you accelerate up to like 1500 meter pace perhaps, and then ease off, just short little bursts of comfortable speed. And even doing proper speed sessions for part of your periodization training plan, where you'll have periods of time where you work on speed and do sessions like 10 times 200 meters, even 300 meters, and that sort of thing. So I would say yes, it's important, but of course it's not as important as the aerobic base, the easy miles, the threshold training, etc. Let's see, some more questions here. Montalban says, I currently do track work speed once a week. So boring compared to long, beautiful trail runs, but I think it helps my performance. I definitely think it helps your performance. It's a good idea to just have a good balance of different intensities and different speeds. Variety is key, right? And touching on the different energy systems like speed training, threshold training, long runs, those are the big ones. And then there's VO2 max and critical velocity in there as well. Still, most of your running should be easy though. And For those of you watching, and maybe for those of you watching this video back when it's posted on YouTube after the live stream, bear in mind that I do offer coaching. So if you're interested in a training plan, or if you're interested in a Skype conversation perhaps, where we discuss your training or get into how to best train for whatever your goals are, please check out my website. There's a link in the description. There's another question here, I think. Let's see. Samarth Roshan, what's the best beginner run tip? Best beginner run tip? Wow, that's a good question. I would say the best would be build gradually. That would probably be the best tip. If I had to give one tip to a beginner, I would say build gradually. Be patient. Take it slowly. Build gradually. The body is very good at adapting to things, but it takes longer than we think usually. It's not like you can just suddenly do something new and your body will just be like, yeah, I can handle this. It usually takes a few weeks, 3, 4, 5, or 6 weeks. Certainly more than a couple of weeks for the body to adapt to any new level of stress. So whether you're a beginner or an advanced runner, you need to be careful when it comes to adding in new elements in your training, adding in more volume in terms of kilometers, upping the frequency, how often you run, upping the intensity of your training, adding in a new type of training, new shoes, new terrain, anything new, okay? So as a beginner, take it slowly, little by little by little by little, and stabilize at a certain level. So you start running 3 times a week, for example, 20 minutes. Stay there for like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 weeks even. Get comfortable at that level. Once you're comfortable, your body has adapted to that level. Now you add the next level and you add in another run, or you up the intensity on one of the runs, or the distance on all of them, or whatever. One thing at a time, then adapt to that level, and then comes the next, and you go in this incremental progression kind of thing. That's important. What's your marathon PR? I have never run a marathon, actually. I've never run a marathon. I love the idea of a marathon. The marathon is my favorite distance, at least in my head it is. I just love I mean, what other distance has its own name? Usually we describe distances by the distance, right? We say 10K, 5K, 3K, 200 meters, 10,000 meters. But the marathon has a name. It's called a marathon. It's like a mythical distance. And the half marathon is also in the category of marathoning, I would say. So I enjoy the half marathon. I've run a few half marathons. My fastest half marathon is 1:33, which is not super fast at all. But for me, as a still somewhat of a beginner, you know, I'm still only been running for a few years. I feel like it's pretty good. And I think last summer I was in probably 1:28 shape, I would say. If I went out on a flat course in August last year, I think I could run at 1:28 probably. But then I had some health issues and I had a long training break, and now I'm just building back into it. Dreaming of going sub-3 for my first full marathon. Whether there will be a marathon or not in November in Nice, I don't know. I hope so. And I certainly want to go sub 3:10. Can I go sub 3? That depends on how my training progresses over the next few months and how my Achilles tendon holds up, because I'm having some issues with my right Achilles. Yeah. What's your marathon PR though? Have you ran a marathon? Any of you guys have a marathon PR you want to share? Go ahead and post a comment. Montalban, opinion on what intervals should you eat on epic runs, if at all? Do you Do you mean, when you say that, do you mean how often you should eat? Tiernan says 3:44. Nice. That's a decent time. I would say anyone going sub 4 on a marathon, I would say that's above average fitness for sure. Definitely. I mean, even just finishing a marathon is way above average fitness. Most people cannot even dream of finishing one. So without training, obviously, they need to train. If anyone can do it if they train for it, but very few people do train for it. So 3:44 is really nice. How often would I eat on long runs? In general, I'm a fan of eating on long runs. I don't see a point in not doing it. If you want to do a fasted long run in order to stimulate your fat metabolism more, you could do those once in a while, but they're very taxing and it takes more recovery to recover from it. So if you're careful about those things and you put it in your training plan, say once every 6 weeks or something in a build up, sure, you can have maybe some benefit of stimulating your fat metabolism a little bit more by not eating. But even if you do eat while you're running, you will still be burning mostly fat as long as you keep the intensity low. Even if you eat sugar and carbohydrates, your fat metabolism will still be revved up based on the time you're running, and as your glycogen stores deplete, it will be revved up more and more, even if you're eating. So I'm a fan of eating. It's healthier, I think, for the most part, for most of your long runs. And I would say start out without eating anything for about the first half hour, or perhaps even an hour. I would already, depending on the weather, I would probably start drinking even after just 10-15 minutes, and just drink every 15 minutes or something like that. And then once an hour has gone by, or maybe half an hour, you can start eating as well every 15 minutes. So what I would do is I would squeeze a little bit of, I'll show you what I've got here. Let's see. So I usually bring this soft flask. I have several types. And I'll just fill it with sugar, salt, and a little bit of water, or some flavored drink or whatever, just a little bit. Even a little Coca-Cola is actually quite nice. You just have like just a little bit of Coca-Cola. It's just for taste, actually. Mostly it's just sugar and salt. So I'll squeeze a little bit of that, and then I'll take a sip of the water, and that's fine. And then 15 minutes later, I'll do it again, and I'll just do that every 15 minutes, or every 10 minutes, or perhaps every 20 minutes, depending on your preference. If I'm in a race, you definitely want to do that usually every 5K. That's where they have an aid station, every 5K. So however fast you finish 5 kilometers in a race, maybe it takes you 20 minutes, 25, 30, or longer. If it takes you longer than 30 minutes though, you should probably have a little bit of extra water with you, maybe in between aid stations. Let's see. Verai Chodori says, hello, brother. Hi, how are you? He's asking, do you eat vegan? Is it better than being on keto? Yes, I do eat vegan, and I'm of the opinion that it is a lot better than keto. Ketosis is an adaptation we have to handling periods of time without food. So when we're fasting, when we're actually starving, we can survive for a while on ketosis. And it's when the fat metabolism sort of takes over in the body. But for a variety of reasons, I think it's not healthy to be in ketosis most of the time. And I don't see the great benefits of eating that diet. I'm a big fan of carbohydrates, especially if you want to be an athlete, you've got to eat carbohydrates. In fact, your diet should be based around carbohydrates. I would eat a lot of fruit, lots of potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, corn, pasta, bread. I mean, just getting carbohydrates in. Of course, fruit and bananas and stuff like that is just the best way of supplying carbohydrates. But yeah, plant-based diet, vegan diet, that's definitely what I recommend. Let's see, scrolling through the comments here a little bit. Berserk asks, run on grass, heel pain, time off, question mark. Not exactly sure what you mean. I would say, yeah, running on grass can be a good way to, it's a soft surface. It has its problems though, because you're lifting your feet sometimes a little bit because of the grass. So the best thing is like dirt trails, but variety is key. So sometimes running on grass, sometimes on the pavement, sometimes on the gravel and trails and stuff like that. And if you have a heel pain or if you have an injury, I would probably take some time off at first. Maybe we're talking like a few days or a week or two to see if it eases off. Perhaps, okay, you do have heel pain. Okay, I would take a week off. Just give it a week. Let's see if it goes back. And then when you get back into it, slowly build into it. Be like super conservative. And if the heel pain comes back very quickly, I would probably go to a physiotherapist and get a professional opinion about it. That's the best thing you could do probably. But again, the key is build very slowly, make sure you have good footwear, go to a running specialty store to get good shoes, and run on a variety of terrain. There we go, okay. Montalban says he's dealing also with Achilles tendonitis. So annoying, yeah, I know, it's very annoying. I'm doing eccentric heel drops, and that's supposed to be helping. Martin, any special insights on running on inclined planes to avoid back pain? Do you mean running uphill, or is that what you mean by running on inclined planes? Let me know. Just write yes if you mean running uphill for back pain. Thanks for coming. Okay, thanks for joining us here, everyone, in this live stream. We're not that many people on the Lone Trail. I think I have 2,600 subscribers at this point, and hopefully I'll be able to build it over time. But I'm very appreciative of you guys being here now. Thank you. So, would do something particular about your back pain? Depends. I mean, it's difficult to say, right? Because where is your back pain, and why do you have back pain? Could it be related to shoes? Is it related to your running form? Is it related to increasing your volume too quickly? Do you have an injury there that's difficult to manage? There's so many possibilities that, again, I would just recommend going to a physiotherapist. If you have a persistent issue and you're not exactly sure why you have it or what it is, it's always best to go to a professional, ideally a physiotherapist who knows about running, finding a running clinic or something like that, because then you'll be able to get the best possible advice. I can't imagine that. I mean, when you're running on a hill, uphill, there's less impact, less eccentric loading. When you're going down a hill fast, especially if you're not running with optimal form, you could theoretically get some back issues, I guess. So running uphill is a little softer on the structural system. But I would also look into possibly strengthening your back through deadlifts, squats, etc. Maybe back pain, running form, or shoes. Yeah, it could be running form, could be shoes. Definitely look into that by talking to a professional. I heard long distance running puts your body in oxidative stress. What to do then? Yes, I mean when you're metabolizing things, that's oxidative stress. But it's stress is good. Stress is not a problem. The problem is when you're not able to recover from the stress, chronic stress. So the idea of having stress in your life then recovering from it, that's good. Having too much stress in your life and not allowing recovery, that's a problem. So, you know, you train and you stress your body, including your oxidative, you create some oxidative damage, etc. And then afterwards you rest, you recover, you sleep, you breathe, you eat. There's lots of antioxidants in your food if you're eating a plant-based diet. And then you sleep, and then it's all good. Monte Albin says, I'll take running stress or office stress any day. Okay. Martin, thanks for answers. I guess I had to do with running form. Could be. I mean, when you are running uphill, as I said, there's less loading on the back probably. You know, it depends. There's a lot of different variables there that could be relevant or not relevant in your particular case. We're gonna wrap it up. This was cool. My first live stream with my phone here on the Lone Trail. So thank you guys for being here on live stream. Thanks for asking your questions. I'm gonna do another one. Maybe I'll do another one next Saturday at the same time. Perhaps it will be a tradition. Perhaps not. I don't want to promise that I'll be here next Saturday, but I might. I might suddenly pop up another time too. It's afternoon here now in Norway. I guess it's morning in the US. I don't know where you guys are from. Why don't you post a comment now where you write where you're from, where you are right now, so I can get an idea of where you guys are. I think some of you are probably in the US. India. Okay, 2 people in India. US. All right, so in India, I guess it's pretty late at night. 3rd person in India. Manchester. Okay, Spain. Cool. So I guess a lot of you guys are either here in Europe or in the East, which means it's going to be late at night for you guys, afternoon for us here in Europe, and morning for you guys over in the US. All right. Thanks for watching. If you're watching the video recording of this, of course, check out some of the links in the description, my coaching website, and to you guys watching as well now live, remember that I do have a Patreon page where I do monthly Q&A videos. Okay, so I make a video every month where I answer the question from my patrons. So if you want to check out that and get some more exclusive content over on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/thelonetrail. There's also going to be a link in the description after I finish this live stream. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of this live stream. And yeah, I wish you all a good night or a good morning or a good day or afternoon or whatever it is. All right. See ya. Bye. And I'm still here because I don't know how to turn it off. I guess up here. Bye.